If you're living paycheck to paycheck, if every month you're worried about having enough money in your bank account to pay your bills, or if you're constantly stressed out about money, I'm going to show you 5 simple steps to get financial freedom in your life. To me, having financial freedom is not about having a ton of money to be able to buy whatever I feel like whenever I want. To me, financial freedom is about being secure. It's not having to worry about money. It's knowing that if I suddenly stop making money, I'm not going to get behind on my bills, I'm not going to go hungry, and I'm not going to lose my car or my house or anything else that is important for me to live a comfortable life. With everything that's happened this year and record numbers of people being unemployed, I think the things that I'm going to share in this video are very important for everybody to learn. We don't learn about how to manage money in school, and I think most people are living beyond their means and spending more money than they earn, which will make you stressed out about money. And when you're stressed out about money, that affects all areas of your life and your overall happiness. I know when I graduated from college and got my first real job, I was going down the path of spending more money than I made. I was so excited to finally get the life that I'd always dreamed of and buy nice clothes for work, go out to eat, and go have drinks with friends. But eventually, I realized I was spending more money than I was making, and I was starting to get myself into trouble. If you're not tracking how much money is coming in and going out, you really have no way of knowing what's going on with your finances. I definitely didn't, and that's how Jay and I got into over $25,000 of debt. So we quickly had to get our butts in gear, figure out how to track our finances, and quickly paid off our debt, even though we weren't making a lot of money. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into the 5 simple steps to financial freedom, and if you're excited about this, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you're notified when our new videos come out, and also hit the thumbs up if you find this video helpful. Step number 1 is spending less than you make. This seems really obvious, but as I said earlier, if you're not tracking how much money is coming in and going out, you probably won't have any idea if you're spending more than you actually make. So the first step is tracking your income and your expenses. When we started out doing this, we just used a Google spreadsheet and listed every expense, and I mean every expense. If we spent $1.50 at a convenience store, it went on the spreadsheet. If you're unsure of how to set this up, don't worry because I'm going to give you the exact spreadsheet that we used when we were doing this. I'll include a link in the description. The spreadsheet method requires manual entries, so it is a lot of work, but if you're just starting out, it might be the best method for you so you can really get things down. But if you want something more automated, I suggest using Mint. Mint's owned by Intuit, the same people who bring you QuickBooks and TurboTax, so in my opinion, it's totally safe to use. You can sync up all your bank accounts, credit cards, and investments so you can get a look at everything in one place. It also automatically tracks your income and expenses, so you can set a budget in there and then set up different rules that make your income and expenses go into different categories in your budget, so it's all very convenient. When I first started tracking our expenses, I tried working backwards and figuring out what we had spent in the previous month, but this takes a lot of time and it's really frustrating, so if you're in the middle of a month, I just recommend waiting until a new month starts and then start tracking from there. Step number 2 is having a cushion in your checking account. I used to be stressed out at the end of every month because my bills were almost due, but I didn't have enough money in my checking account to pay them. So as soon as I got my paycheck, I would deposit it right away and barely pay my bills in time. Does that sound like you? If so, let me know in the comments. By being aware of what's going on with my spending, by tracking my expenses like I talked about in step 1, I was able to spend less money and slowly leave more of my paycheck in my checking account each month until finally I was a whole month ahead. So at the end of January, I wasn't stressed out waiting for my check to pay my bills that were due at the end of January or at the beginning of February. The check that I got at the end of January was actually for my bills that were due in March, so I was able to be one whole month ahead. By giving my account some padding like this, a cushion, I was able to stop stressing out each month. When you get to this point, you'll really feel a sense of relief and like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. But things can get better, so let's continue on to the next steps. Step number 3 is paying off your debt. There are 2 methods that are typically used to pay off debt. There's the snowball method, where you tackle the smallest amount of debt first. So if you owe $5,000 on a student loan, $10,000 on a car, and $15,000 on a credit card, you would pay off the $5,000 student loan first, then the $10,000 car, and then the $15,000 credit card. If you're someone who has a hard time staying motivated, this is probably a good method for you to use. Because once you pay off one loan, you'll be excited about paying off one of your loans and feel accomplished, and you can keep up the motivation so you can keep going to pay off the rest of the debt. But here's the problem with the snowball method. It does not take your interest rates into account. So let's say your $5,000 student loan has an interest rate of 3%, your $10,000 car loan has an interest rate of 6%, and your $15,000 credit card debt has an interest rate of 10%. By using the snowball method, you'd pay off your smallest loan first, your $5,000 student loan with an interest rate of 3%. But that's not very smart, because while you're paying this debt down, your credit card, which is at 10% interest, is growing faster. So the second method of paying down your debt is the high interest method. You identify which loans have the highest interest rates and then pay those down first to save you money in the long run. Because the higher the interest rate is, the more you're getting charged every month on that debt. Now with this method, you might not get the satisfaction of paying off a loan as soon as you would with the snowball method, but it will save you money in interest payments. So if you can keep yourself motivated, I definitely recommend the method of paying down your highest interest loans first. Step number 4 is to save an emergency fund. An emergency fund is money that you put away and don't touch unless there is a real emergency. You can keep it in a savings account in your bank, but what I like to do is put it in an online savings account that is separate from my normal bank. I do this for 2 reasons. The first is the money is out of sight, so I am not tempted to spend it. It does take a couple of days to transfer from the online account into my bank account in order for me to be able to use it, but that really hasn't been an issue for me. The second reason I do this is because online savings accounts typically have a higher interest rate than savings accounts at your local bank. At one point, I think I was getting 2% interest on the money, but I think it's a little bit lower now. That interest rate isn't going to make you rich by any means, but it's kind of the best you can hope for money that's easily accessible. You don't want to invest your emergency fund into the stock market because it could all go away, and investing it into bonds or something like that isn't that good either, because you want to pull out this cash quickly if you need to. So I said you only want to use this money in an emergency, but what constitutes an emergency? Losing your job, not being able to work for a while, maybe if you have a baby or you get injured, having a medical emergency that your insurance won't pay for, or maybe your house gets damaged and needs immediate attention, or maybe there's a pandemic and you don't feel safe going to your job, or you have to stay home and school your kids. You should not use your emergency fund to buy a house or a new car, or when you have a wardrobe emergency. You want to put this money away so you can have peace of mind knowing that if something happens, you'll be okay. So how much should you put away into your emergency fund? I suggest having money to get you through at least 6 months if you were to not make any money. So if you typically spend $4,000 a month, you would multiply that by 6, which is $24,000. That's how much you would want to save and put into your emergency fund. And in a pinch, if you need to make that 6-month emergency fund stretch out for a full year, there are likely things that you would be able to cut out your budget to make that money stretch further. I know some people will think that saving enough money to cover your expenses for 6 whole months is a bit extreme, but I just like to be very safe and secure. I'm a Taurus, what can I say? So if you're not as cautious as me, you might feel comfortable having less in your emergency fund. You might prefer to invest more in a retirement account or maybe a business investment or something like that. That's totally fine. You can customize these steps to financial freedom to fit your life and your specific needs. So have you found some valuable information from this video yet? If so, be sure to hit the thumbs up. Alright, and now we are on to the last one. Step number 5 is starting a retirement fund. Now before I start talking about investing, I want to make it very clear that I am not an expert at this. I have no kind of official training, so don't just run with the things that I'm going to tell you about today. I'm just giving you some initial information that you can go research further on your own. If you're an employee, your employer might offer you a 401k and they might even match your contribution. If that's offered to you, I would definitely suggest taking it because that's free money. If you're self-employed or if you aren't offered a 401k at your job and you make under a certain amount of money, you might be able to invest in a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA allows you to withdraw your money tax-free, so that's beneficial to many people. And you can only qualify for a Roth IRA if you make under a certain amount of money, so generally it's a good option if you meet the qualifications, especially if you plan on making more money in your future, which might unqualify you for this type of account. You might also be interested in index funds. To learn more about that, I recommend the book The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle. Warren Buffett has a quote on the cover that says, "Most investors, both institutional and individual, will find that the best way to own common stocks is through an index fund that charges minimal fees." To give you a bit of an overview, most people try to beat the market by picking individual stocks and trading their stocks often, but the data shows that that method almost always underperforms simple, boring index funds. So this is a great book to learn more, and I'll leave a link for it in the description. The thing you want to know about investing in the stock market is that compound interest is your friend. The sooner you invest, the more money you'll make when you need to cash out on your accounts. So to put it simply, let's say you invest $100 in the stock market and earn 7% interest in a year. So 100 times 7% is 107. So now you have $107 that will gain 7% interest the next year. 107 times 7% is 114.49 cents. Year after year, the amount of money in your account keeps growing, and the amount of free money, essentially, that you get keeps going up. Now again, I'm no expert on this subject. This is just a very simple example. With stocks, you always run the risk of the value going up, or you could lose all your money completely. So it's very important to educate yourself on this stuff before you make any decisions with your money. If you want a really in-depth explanation of how investing in the stock market works, I recommend checking out Preston Pysh. He has an awesome free course on YouTube that teaches you how to invest like Warren Buffett. So I'll include a link for that in the description too. And that's it. Those are the 5 simple steps to financial freedom. You want to start out spending less money than you make, so you need to track your finances and put yourself on a budget if you're spending too much. Then you want to add a cushion to your checking account so you're not constantly stressed about paying your bills each month. Then the third step is to pay off your debt so that you don't have that burden hanging over you anymore. The fourth step is saving an emergency fund so when an emergency happens, you can handle it. And then the fifth step is investing in your retirement account so your future self will thank you. If you start tracking your finances and you cut back on your spending as much as you can, but you still don't have enough extra money at the end of each month, that means that you need to make more money. You can get a second job, do gig work, or maybe you want to start an online business, which is what we talk about here at Blakely Media. Once you finish the 5 steps we covered today, you might be satisfied and stop there. But if you're like me and Jay, you have bigger hopes and dreams, and if that's you, let us know in the comments. So for us, the next step after getting financial freedom was working our way to our first 100K, because that's when you can make big things happen. That's a whole nother level of freedom that we're working towards right now. Charlie Munger, who is Warren Buffett's BFF, says, "The first 100K is a bitch, but you gotta do it. I don't care what you have to do. If that means walking everywhere, not eating anything that wasn't purchased without a coupon, find your way to get your hands on 100K. After that, you can ease off the gas a bit." So if that interests you, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you know when our new videos come out. And if you're really serious about using your online business to get the life that you want, we've got a free training that I'll leave a link for in the description. Remember to give us a thumbs up if you found this video helpful, and share it with a friend or family member who might need to learn this stuff too. Thanks for watching, and I hope to talk to you again soon.